The combination of an angelic being producing offspring with a mortal woman is a hybrid offspring that the King James translate as giants. That is what the result of angelic beings having sex with mortal women was. That's where these giants came from. The title of today's class is Demon Origins. So when we get into this class today, you're going to see some things as a Catholic that you can't ignore, because guess what? My sources are going to come from the Catholic Encyclopedia. And it's going to be about the Book of Enoch, and it's going to be about the so-called church fathers. Because every time I do a class, no matter what we're talking about, somebody jumps in the chat or in my DM, Brother Josh, what is your opinion of the church fathers? What about sola scriptura? And they love to throw the church fathers at me. They stand by the church fathers. Okay, cool, no problem. But I want to see if you're going to stand by the church fathers after today's class. Because I want to see if you're really sincere about your own beliefs, or are you just a hypocrite? Because there are a lot of people who want you to explain your beliefs, but they're not even sincere about their own beliefs. And I'm of the mindset, of the philosophy, that before I start questioning how true you are to what you believe, I got to make sure I'm true to what I believe. So we're going to take this back to the origin. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 6, and we're going to read verses 1 to 4. Genesis 6, verses 1 through 4. When you get there, Brother Jeff, read, please.
And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose.
There are people right now who will teach you that these sons of God were regular men. This is known as the sons of Seth doctrine, or the Sethian doctrine. What these people will tell you is that the sons of God were the righteous sons of Seth, and the daughters of men were the wicked daughters of Cain. But there's only one problem. It doesn't say that here. It says the sons of God saw the daughters of men. So what this is saying is angels from heaven lusted after mortal women. And it says, and they took them wives of all which they chose. We're going to show you that this is the ancient historical understanding of this text, even when we get to some of the so-called church fathers. Angelic beings descended to earth. I hope y'all understand what I'm telling y'all. And had sex with mortal women. But continue. Watch what it says in the next verse.
Verse 3. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years.
And many people read this and they think this is saying that the lifespan of a human would not go beyond 120 years. You know that's not true, because you can read people living longer than 120 years after this. So what does this mean? This is saying that God was giving mankind 120 years to get their act together. That's what Peter is talking about when he said Noah was a preacher of righteousness. Who was he preaching to? The wicked people during his day. See, a lot of people don't know that God gave mankind an opportunity to get their act together before he sent the flood. That's what Noah was doing. He was preaching, telling people to repent, stop being wicked. Nobody wanted to hear that, right? So God gave them 120 years to get their act together. Obviously, they failed, right? But that's another lesson. Read verse 4, please.
Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown.
It said there were giants in the earth in those days. What days? The days of Noah. Then it says, And also after that, after what? The days of Noah. So there were giants on both sides of the flood. You can read about these giants in the book of Numbers, right? There were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God, the angels of God, and we're going to show you when they did this, they were sinning. When the angels of God came unto the daughters of men, mortal women, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. These mighty men are these giants that you are reading about. The combination of an angelic being producing offspring with a mortal woman is a hybrid offspring that the King James translate as giants. That is what the result of angelic beings having sex with mortal women was. That's where these giants came from. This is where they came from. But what we're going to do is going to go to the Strong Exhaustive Concordance, and we're going to look up the word translated giants in this verse. And it's 5303 in the Hebrew section. The word translated giants in this verse. 5303 in the Hebrew section. And the word is Nephil. Nephil. And it says from Hebrew 5307, properly a feller that is a bully or tyrant, giant. But we're going to show you that when it says giant, it meant giant literally in stature, in size, in height. But notice that the Hebrew word is nephil. That is the singular form of this noun, nephil. When you make it plural in the Hebrew, you add the suffix m to it, I am. And that's where you get the term Nephilim from. And since this is in the plural on the context of this verse, this is saying there were Nephilim in the earth in those days. That is the name of the hybrid offspring of the angels and mortal women. But I'm going to prove that to you. We're going to go to another translation, the Christian Standard Bible, or CSB, and we're going to read this same verse and watch what it says. The Christian Standard Bible, or CSB, Genesis 6 and 4. What it says: the Nephilim were on the earth both in those days and afterward. When the sons of God came to the daughters of mankind, notice it says mankind, because that's what it means when it says daughters of men. This is a better translation. Who bore children to them. They were the powerful men of old, the famous men. That's what it means when it says, that's what it means when it says in the King James, men of renown. That means they were popular, they were famous, they were celebrities. That's what it means. But let me show you how this reads in the easy to read version, or the ERV. This is Genesis 6 and verse 1. And for some reason in the ERV, it has verses 1, 2, 3, and 4 in verse 1. So it goes from verse 1 and then skips all the way to verse 5. Because for some reason they decided to just condense it all in verse 1. I don't know why they did it, but hey, let's read it anyway. This is what it says. The number of people on earth continued to increase. When these people had daughters, the sons of God saw how beautiful they were. The angels of God, that's what this is talking about. So they chose the women they wanted. They married them, and the women had their children. Then the Lord said, people are only human. I will not let my spirit be troubled by them forever. I will let them live only 120 years, as the human race, not an individual, will not live longer than the lifespan of 120 years. That is a misconception. I will let them live only 120 years. During this time and also later, the Nephilim people live in the land. They have been famous as powerful soldiers since ancient times. And you can go into other historical records of other ancient civilizations, and they will testify of the Nephilim, although they have different names for them. Almost every ancient culture has a story similar to this, describing the gods coming down in the form of men and intermingling with mortal women. So the Bible is not the only ancient document that testifies of this. Other documents do too, from other ancient civilizations and cultures, right? So what do we have going on here? We have angels descending from heaven in the form of mortal men and having sex with mortal women. And because of the difference in nature, because even when an angel comes in the form of a mortal man, they're not completely mortal. It's not like what Jesus did. When Jesus came in the form of a man, he became completely mortal. He did not take on a human form, but yet still was in the form of an angelic body or a spirit body. He became completely flesh. But when these angels did this, they were not completely flesh. That's why the offspring got thrown off and produced these hybrid creatures. Angels can take on physical form. You always knew this. Angels can take on physical form. They can sit down, have a conversation with you. They can even eat and drink. It tells you that that Abraham served God and two angels with him, food and drink. When the two angels came to visit Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot showed them hospitality, let them in his house, and he fed them too. So they could take on human form and do who knows how many physical things a normal human can do. Think about it. If you're feeding an angel in human form, that means he has to have teeth to chew. He has to have a tongue to roll the food. I don't know if y'all know about the whole digestive process. It's really quite fascinating if you ever research it. Whenever you eat and you're tasting your food and you're chewing, what your tongue is doing is it's kind of rolling your food into like a ball and kind of like spreading it out to make it easier for you to swallow your food, right? And then it goes down your throat and it goes through the whole digestive process. So if angels can eat, that means they did all of that. They can do a lot of physical stuff that you see us do. And I hear people say, an angel can't have sex with a human. They can't produce semen, but they can produce saliva, which is necessary for you to eat your food. They have teeth to chew. They have a throat to swallow. They have a digestive tract. They're doing all of that. There's nothing in the Bible that says when these angels in their physical form were eating food, it was some type of different way than how regular humans eat their food. It just described it as them eating just like us. So when they come in physical form, they can do physical things, including have sex with mortal women, right? So now we see these things, right? And these people became popular. So what we're going to do, since we read this in the other translations, now let's go to a source. And I sent you the source in your DM, by the way, already earlier today, JiDion. We're going to go to newadvent.org. Why are we going here? Because we're going to look up the book of Enoch from a Catholic source. This is the Catholic Encyclopedia. This is newadvent.org under Book of Enoch. They have it as Book of Enoch, but the H is silent. So you get Book of Enoch. So we're going to read what it says here. This is again, I can't emphasize this enough. Do I have any Catholics in attendance? I just want to see. Give me a W in the chat if you're a Catholic. Any Catholics in attendance? Go on. Somebody said used to. Hey, we got former Catholic, Auntie Steph. Look at them. I am, right? See, that's why I don't like to have these kind of conversations with people, man, because people either are not sincere about their own religion or they don't know enough about their own religion to properly explain or debate it. Because I start showing stuff, well, your religion says this. Why don't you believe this? There was a book of Enoch and they were using it. But look what else it says right here. It says the canonical epistle of St. Jude in verses 14 and 15 explicitly quotes from the book of Enoch. The citation is found in the Ethiopic version in verse 9 and 4 of the first chapter. There are probable traces of the Enoch literature in other portions of the New Testament. It ain't probable, y'all. They're being kind of, liberal, but no, they're definitely there. I'm going to show you, right? Look what it says right here. Let me scroll this up a little bit. It says, passing to the patristic writers, the book of Enoch enjoyed a high esteem among them. The patristic writers is talking about the church fathers. It said it passed to them. JiDion, Jeff, how could it pass on to the church fathers if it wasn't ever there to begin with? How did they inherit it? How did they get their hands on it? Well, let me show you what else it says. It says in the 4th century, Enoch ceased, it lost credit and ceased to be quoted. This is around the same time where Catholic Church started taking over stuff. Yet the Catholic Church will tell you that it was cited by the so-called church fathers. If you do your research, they had started suppressing the book of Enoch. That's why the majority of you don't know about it today. That means somebody gradually pressed this book out of the minds of Christians. Now look what else it says. So great was the oblivion into which they fell that only scanty fragments of Greek and Latin versions were preserved in the West. Did they fall into that much oblivion? Because they were suppressing it, they were burning it, they were threatening people who had copies of it. And again, I can't stress this enough, y'all. This is from the Catholic Encyclopedia. Think about how many demons and fallen angels have been locked up since then. So when they finally see that door unlock, they're gonna be like, we're free. And they're gonna just attack mankind.
Have you seen any movies that kind of illustrated this?
Not off the top of my head, I could think of. But I'm pretty sure there is, right? So this is when they're gonna be torturing mankind. Mankind gonna want to die. It said for 5 months they're gonna be able to do this. So, sisters and brothers, I have given you demon origins. You know where demons come from. You know how they got here. And you know their characteristics. So you have learned a lot. You also know that the church fathers knew about the book of Enoch and made references to it, which is why we use it. Not because of the church fathers, but because it was around and people used it. And I can do another class showing you other references to the book of Enoch. So the next time somebody asks you about demons and fallen angels, simply show them the information in this class. And then they too will know the origin of demons.